Luc Bouchard with Solvac Life Coaching Services. I've been a certified life skills coach for 22 years and I specialize in cooking meat on the barbecue. Welcome to my kitchen once again. So creativity comes in many ways, as you've heard me talk about it, and one of the ways I'm creative is I often will create my own spices to cook different foods with. And one of the spices I've got a lot of success with, or I've had a lot of success with, is my lemon pepper, onion powder, garlic powder rub. And they are equal portions of each, and they get mixed up, and I add them to chicken, pork, and fish, and they're all really, really good. So what we have here is, this is the garlic powder, and I'm going to add it in here. And then this is the onion powder, and I'm going to add it in the bowl. And again, equal portions of all three, and this is lemon pepper, and I'm going to add it in here. So set that aside, and what I'm going to do is mix them up and get them. And the next thing you're going to see is me putting it on the ribs. So we will be back in a second. Okay, we're back. I have now put the spice inside a container with a couple of different holes I can pour it on. I don't know if you could be able to see that. Maybe we'll do it there. And we're going to now cut up the ribs. The ribs, as you can see, are pork side ribs, and what I do is I just basically cut between the bones. And so I cut, cut. And when there's excess meat like that, I just cut it off and I'll cook that separately. Obviously my knife could be sharper. And like that. So there's the meat. I'm going to cut up the rest of them and start barbecuing right away. One thing I wanted to mention about the spices that you use, not all lemon peppers are created equally. I've purchased some where some are more salty than others. And if you recall, in one of my earliest cooking sessions, I think it was back with hamburgers, that you really can't control the sodium when they put sodium or the salt in, when they put salt in your spices. And so you want to be kind of discerning when it comes to your lemon pepper. And if it's really very salty, then you have to, just be aware of that. And that's really what makes this rub really quite good, is the lemon pepper in the lemon and the salt in it, because our tongues have receptors that are actually quite salt based and salt or sweet. So that's how they make our food, is to kind of, that's what appeals to us, is whether it's salty or sweet, or the combination of those both. Okay. So here we are in my backyard again, my favorite place, one of my favorite places to create food. And I'm going to put the ribs on the barbecue. So as you can see, I have it at, well, you can't see this, but I have it at about 375, which is a good heat. And the thing we need to understand about pork is that it has a lot of fat on it, depends on where the cut is. And these ribs have a certain amount of fat, so you can have a lot of flare up. So what I'm going to do is actually not use up the whole barbecue, so I can move them around and so they don't get burnt. So as you can see, I'm going to put them on the actual barbecue now. And put them on there. So as you can see now, I have them all on the barbecue, and what does that look like? Yeah, so I'm going to close the lid, and then we're going to let that cook for a bit and not stray too far, because there will be a lot of flare up. I don't think I told you the reason why I'm actually cooking these ribs. I'm taking my kids camping this weekend to a lake not too far from here. It's about an hour's drive. I have a tent trailer. I'm actually going to be filming this weekend of making a campfire. And perhaps I may even take up the slack line and see if I can stand and balance on it, and if my kids can, and if I won't fall on my face, or certainly not on my ass. So we'll be back once these are ready to turn over and you can see some more. So, see, so I'm pretty sure you'll be able to see that. And that's actually a good time to turn them over. And so I'm just going to turn these all. And have these cooked. And then I'm going to add some more spice to them after they've been turned over once, because a lot of the spice falls up. It's really not a rub, it's just more of a spice in a lot of ways. And so turn them over, and then I add the spice. All right. Okay, it's time to check the ribs again. I've turned them over once, I've added more spice to them, and now I'm going to make sure that they're not burning on any side. And so I will take, let's say we'll go with this one, and that's actually doing pretty good. So then I'm going to start actually setting them up so that they cook on their sides. And that's actually one of the nice things about having a barbecue that's kind of wonky like mine is. That's the cast iron has wowed, is that I actually have an angle, so I use it to my advantage. Sometimes we do what we just have to do. So as you can see, I'm putting these all on their edges. And that one's almost done. So I'll put that like that. Okay, so I'm sure you get the idea as to what I'm doing with this now. So now you can see that I actually have them all on their ends, and I'm going to add some more lemon pepper to them. And just a couple of things on why I cook with spice as opposed to garlic powder. And that has to do with the fact that most of the food that we have is heavily salted or heavily sweetened. And of course it tastes good because, as I mentioned earlier, that's the receptors on our tongue. And that we have they make the food for that. But we're not really tasting the meat. We're not really tasting the flavor of the meat when we overpower it with salty or sweet. So I find this recipe is really good at accentuating the flavors of pork and chicken and fish, and it brings it out. And that's what salt does, it brings it out. But if we put too much on, then all we're tasting is the salt. So not overpowering, but accentuating is always what I try to do when I barbecue, and for all of the things I cook with. Now I'm going to leave this for a couple more minutes, and generally we've all had ribs that are overcooked and they're really dry and they're not good. And there's that balance we want to strike of being cooked just enough, but not too much so they're not dry. And that's why if I cook them on all four sides, then they'll cook through, and without them being really like truly dry ribs, but not in a good way. Okay, now we're ready to turn them over for the last time, hopefully, and we'll go from there. So a lot more smoke going on, and so I just start turning them, and at this point you're going to see that some are actually probably cooked enough to take out. But I'd rather have them a bit overcooked and a bit dry than have them not cooked enough. Because as we know, pork is not something we want to have pink. All right, we're ready to start taking off some of the pieces that are smaller and less thick, so we're going to do that now. And this is an example of one that's actually quite cooked. Can't wait to tie into that one. And I put it in a container that has paper towel in it just to soak up the fat. I often use newsprint. Just, it works, and you know, it's good enough for them in England to put their fish and chips on. No, it's good enough for me. So I'm going to take some off, and then we're going to try one, and that'll be today's show. This is Luc Bouchard with Solvac Life Coaching Services. I've been a meat cooker for most of my adult life, and I've learned how to use the barbecue by trial and by fire, pun intended. And here we have the end result of some of my lemon spice garlic ribs, and meat just falls right off the bones. And I hope you have a great day, and you should try this recipe. It's really easy. Remember, equal portions of garlic powder, onion powder, and lemon pepper, and you can't go wrong. And if the lemon pepper is really salty, cut back on it and just add, you know, more of the onion powder and the garlic powder. So I hope you have a great day, and I'm really excited about going camping with my kids this weekend. and it's going to be supposed to rain all weekend, but yeah, it's part of the adventure. So we will talk to you next week, and I can't remember who I'm having for an interview tomorrow, but you'll see that when you tune in tomorrow. Okay, you take care. Bye now. Nummy. You gotta try this. You really do. Take care.